Kathy, I've turned on my note taker. It'll summarize the meeting as well as record it.
That would be great. Thanks, Carl.
We have 4 other recording or note takers as well. So I think you have some, thank you, Carl. We have some options here.
Yeah.
We should be able to cover it, right?
Wow.
Yep. I appreciate it, you guys, because I do write a report on every one of these meetings, and I obviously sometimes have to rely heavily on the YouTube video or other recording. So thank you. All right, so if we're ready to go, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 9:03. And once again, a reminder to sign in online. Jennifer had put a link to the sign in the chat, so please sign in. And then if we're ready to move forward, I see Tracy's on. So let's go with the CenturyLink Lumen System Performance Reports. Tracy, I'm sorry, were you able to get those? I was a little confused on your email.
No, ma'am. I'm happy to share. I'm not the only one with technical issues today. I ran the report 5 or 6 times this morning, and my export link will not work, so I can't get it. Had my manager give it a shot. She can't get it either. So I do have a ticket open, and as soon as I am able to download it, I'll send it to you guys and you can post it. I can see it, and there isn't anything outside of the tariff guidelines. I cannot get it to pop out of the tool this morning. So I will keep trying.
Okay, appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. I escalated the ticket, so I should get something today. I didn't know if it was just my computer or not, so I had a couple other people try, and they can't pull theirs either. So something's not working.
Okay, well, we all understand technical issues, that's for sure. So I think the next thing is the issue tracker.
Yep.
So let's head through that.
We'll go ahead and look at it, and I think Andrew is on. So this is last updated last month, right? So you, Andrew, did you have an update for the Pueblo County? Maybe he's on. Let me see. Yes.
I thought that I closed the loop with them.
And you might have. I just didn't have it updated on the tracker. So do we have anyone from the PSAP on?
I got to go back and look through my
Okay.
old emails because I haven't looked at that in like a month and a half.
Yeah, it's been a while because this was October, but I wasn't here for November. If you can check and let me know,
I will.
that would be awesome. Because the other one that I didn't have an update on was the robocall issue that we were having primarily in Grand Junction, and that's over a month old as well.
Okay, I'll get you an update on both those.
Cool, thank you very much. The ECAT's the tariff. We're going to kind of close that out on our side. I've worked with Entrado, over the last 12 months. We still do have 11 PSAPs that are not on ECATs, or at least they're not on the ECAT provided by the tariff. A handful of them are waiting for new CPE. A couple are waiting because they want their current contract to run out. We've been in contact with all of them, and when they are ready, Entrado will be happy to get their information and get them set up. But we have 11 left, and we have contacted all of them. They're just not ready at this time to move forward.
Okay.
So I'm going to move that to closed moving forward, unless there's any objections to that on the call.
Well, the only thing that I would say, sorry, Matt, I saw you raise your hand. Give me just 1 second. I'm a little concerned if we move that to closed, then we're going to lose track of it.
Okay, we can leave it on here. I just
Can we get a list of
Yep.
those PSAPs
Yep.
so that we know? Because we just don't want that to fall off the back burner.
Yep.
Through nobody's fault, it happens. So, yeah,
No,
that
I
would be great.
absolutely can leave it on here. And I will send you, Kathy, a list of the 11 I have
Okay.
right after this call, because we definitely know who they are.
Okay. Thank you. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, I feel the same way. The reasons given sound understandable, reasonable. But also eventually we want to get to where we have statewide ECATS data or statewide metrics purposes related to, say, distributions of state charges, et cetera, as well. And you know, the longer this gets delayed, the longer that functionality will be useful, I think.
Yep, absolutely. If you guys have any, suggestions as to how it can move a little faster, we're definitely open to that. We've just kind of been told to stand down by these locations because they're not ready for it.
Well, and I'm not saying we should, apply undue pressure. If there's valid reasons, we have to respect those. But I agree with not keeping track of it and keeping it vocalized because of these other needs.
Thanks, Matt. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry,
Tracy.
I was just going to say I'll confirm with Intrado because I get an updated tracker from them every Friday, just to make sure that the 11 I show are still pending, are the same, because I know sometimes Kayla has been reaching out directly to the PSAPs and trying to help them get the paperwork taken care of and just kind of updating them on, hey, when are you getting your new CPE? And a lot of them, or there's a couple I know that said, well, we were supposed to get it now and it's been pushed to February. So let me double check with Intrado and just make sure that my 11 are the same that they have, and then we'll get it out to you guys.
Perfect. Thanks, Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer, go ahead.
I was going to say something similar to what Matt said, but I will also be keeping it on my radar and touching base with Tracy to see what the reasons, like which PSAPs are holding back and what the reasons are, so that we can keep track that and just kind of keep an eye on it. So,
Okay.
just wanted to let you know I was paying attention, and we'll keep it on my radar regardless.
Thanks, Jennifer. Brett, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Just so you know, we've got a server and I've been paying for it, but we do not, with our Mickey Mouse setup, everything's coming through Vail, and we do not get any picking specific ECATs.
Okay. Jot that down in 1 second.
Brett, I know you guys are thinking or planning on making some changes to your systems. Will that eventually then enable your own separated CHE data port for ECATs?
Yeah, once we do a full separation and have our calls delivered to Pickin, that'll be the case. But it sounds like we're not going to be able to do that without a full CPE exchange, which we've got scheduled for 26.
Okay, so for the time being, right?
Yeah,
Thanks.
we're out of those numbers.
So your numbers, Brett, are mixed together with Vail, or you don't have any numbers at all?
No idea, but I'm assuming they're mixed up in Vails.
Okay.
Let me, this is Rich, sorry. Let me give a shout out to our ECAT side of the house about that. And here's why I'm saying it is because the physical separation, it's still a multi-node, and we have lots of PSEPs out there that should send calls to one node for multiple PSEPs that ECATs can separate. So maybe there's a restriction I'm not aware of, but because the PSEP is distinguished within the messaging, I would think you could, even if it's going to one physical node for two PSEPs, you should still be able to pull it out. So let me talk to some people on the Intrado side. Maybe it's just a configuration issue for you, Brett, versus a restriction on having to have a separate node.
Perfect.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. All I know is our server that is set up is not doing anything at all.
Okay, I'll try to figure out who that is on my side and chat with them about it.
Thanks, Rich. Also, Alex put in the chat, I believe ECAT's ad hoc reports will allow you to generate reports of calls based on positions that answered those calls. So there are options to get some rough call numbers. Thanks, Alex. And Joe, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, my understanding was, though, that the PUC is getting the ECAT's reports that it needs to do the allocation of funds. Is that correct? And that wouldn't be affected if a PSAP, individual PSAP, can't get their ECAT's data.
Hi, Joe. I do have access to ECAT's reporting, but I do not use it for distribution of funds because of the very reason that's been identified, that we don't have full statewide data yet. So we're still using the Intrado IUP portal for that.
So they have to be connected to, they have to be receiving ECATs locally in order for the reports that you're getting to include their specific data.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
But I do get their data through their Intrado portal, just not through ECATs.
Thanks, Jennifer. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say to Joe that one way to think about it is the ECATS box at the PSAP has to be connected to the call detail records output port from the call handling system at the PSAP. That's where that data originates from.
Thanks.
Mark, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm a little late to the game, but I feel like we're getting pretty accurate numbers from ECATS, Brett. We don't see Pitkin County at all. And I think it was Kathy that said we can get that data per operator. So I feel like it's pretty accurate here.
So, Mark, you feel that you're not seeing Pitkin numbers at all?
Correct.
Okay, well then I guess that begs the question as to where that data is, and I think Rich is going to follow up and see if he can figure that out from the Intrado side.
Or maybe it's just a new type of report, query that needs to be generated. I'll talk to our folks.
All right, thanks, Rich. Any other comments, questions on that?
I just want to clarify, Kathy, we're not using that now for distribution, right?
No, I think Jennifer said that she's still using the Intrado IUP for distribution, but Jennifer can correct me if I'm not right.
You are correct.
Thanks. Matt, go ahead. Oh, sorry, Brett. Matt, go ahead. Matt, I think you're muted. Or having technical difficulties.
Well, this isn't that, Matt, but I will say I just had to leave and re-enter the meeting due to something going on with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think after this meeting, we will delete the meeting and send a new one for 2025.
Sounds good. Matt says his mic isn't working. Matt, is there any way you can put your question in chat? Matt says that currently they have the RDDM appliance installed, but working with their CPE to fix an issue with the CDR output. So currently, it will look like calls come from one agency. Okay. Oh, like I said, currently it will look like all calls come from one agency, even though we have 7 PSAPs on the system. So I guess wondering if that CDR output issue could be affecting Pitkin as well. And Matt says, so they are not currently piping any data to the RDDM. Until their CPE issue is resolved. Well, thanks, Matt. That's also good information. And Rich, I don't know if that's something you can use to look into.
Yeah, that might be it. So, I mean,
Okay.
there are specific fields I know. I mean, that's how ECATS does their delineation and gathers all their data is from that handoff from the CPE, that, standard NINA handoff. So if there isn't PSAP specific information being handed off in that data, then you wouldn't be able to separate it. So I'm going to talk to Jennifer Spedafora, who's our salesperson/sales engineer for ECATS, and they'll be able to, I'm sure she'll be able to look into it real quick and say either the data's there and we can do it, or we're missing a data field and that's what we need. So I'll bring her in.
Can you
All
hear
right.
me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, I had to drop and rejoin. But basically, that's the long and short of it. Is we were testing the CDR output from our CP equipment, and because of some custom configuration we have due to the 7 PSAPs, the standard NINA output is not. It's showing everything as coming from 0, which is so it'll look like it's all from 1 PSAP. So they're working on fixing their CDR output. It's a problem on our CP. It's not an Intrado problem at all, or an ECATS problem. It's strictly our problem.
Okay, well, that might be something else for Pitkin to look into. So I think it'll be good to have Brett look into that on his side, but also have Rich look into it on the other side. And that way, hopefully we can pinpoint where the problem is. All right, anything else on that? Okay, Tracy.
Okay, looking at the list, I don't see that Kimberly is on today, or if she is, she's on under a different name. But this is the move that's taking place. We do have the dates. Jeff Winkleman couldn't be here today, but I know he's been working with Kimberly as well as Intrado, so that we are, prepared and ready for their move date in February.
Thanks, Tracy.
Yeah.
Haley, go ahead.
Thanks, Kathy. Hi, Tracy. I'm representing Lita today for Kimberly, so if you have any questions, either Tracy or I from our side could answer anything.
Okay. I don't. I know that this is with our sales group, right? Until it's installed, it kind of stays with sales. And there is a meeting. Let me just look with Intrado. It looks like on Tuesday, just to secure, the resources and the technician and who's going to move the Intrado equipment. I have talked to Kimberly a little bit about the ECATS equipment, whether you guys are going to get new or move what you already have. So I think everything's moving on our side. And like I said, she shared the date with us several weeks ago, so we have shared that with Intrado. And as far as I knew, everything is on track. But again, apologies that Jeff couldn't be on the call today.
All right, thanks for that.
The next one on our list, as Brett is aware, this is our Pitkin Vale problem that has been on here, I think, long before I was on this call. So don't want to take it off. I know it hasn't been fixed. The last I heard, and Brett, you probably know more than I do, I know Jeff Winkleman was talking about the possibility of a new circuit. And you mentioned CPE equipment in 2026. I haven't received anything other than that, right? Conversations are still taking place, and it hasn't been fixed, right?
Yeah, we're waiting to hear from Lumen about the E-line.
Okay, I'll take that as an action and check with Jeff. I know he mentioned it to me, and I don't, that's as far as we got, that might be an option, so I'll ask Jeff. Okay, and I think the last one on there, it's kind of cut off a little bit, but this is state line transfers. This is kind of being spearheaded right now by Motorola, and it is on the New Mexico line, is where they're looking to kick this off and hopefully start a project and do some testing in 2025. We had a kickoff meeting, I want to say it was right before the Thanksgiving holiday, just to let everybody know kind of what the plan is, make sure we had all the right players. Jenny Hansen is my counterpart in New Mexico, so her and I were both on that call. And I think it's moving forward so far on the New Mexico line.
Sounds good. We start with one.
Yes, I'm hoping that, the others will go much smoother. Kind of like with ECATs, right? The first few were incredibly painful. and now everybody knows what we're doing and everything's going more smooth. So, and that is all we had as far as issues. I'm going to add the ECATs for Pitkin, and I'm also going to add an update for that ELAN to see where Jeff Winkleman is on that. So I'll get those added to this tracker this afternoon.
Sounds good, Tracy. Thank you. Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, Tracy, I was just going to follow up on the one I didn't see on the tracker for identifying the dialable numbers for our PSAP, and then the ongoing issue with Delta VoIP calls rolling over or just passing through invisibly to Delta to us. So I know that ticket was incidentally closed when it wasn't quite yet resolved and they reopened it. So that team is communicating with us on that one. But
so they did close it and now it's open again?
Yeah, for the VoIP rollover calls. But the other topic was the dialable numbers direct to Wesco. I think I had an email from earlier in November. Was just waiting to hear back from you or Cindy, I believe.
Cindy Rowland? I think so. Let me look. It would be Cindy. Let me follow up with her. Let me look at my tracker. Yeah, it looks like it. So it's on the closed portion of the tracker, and I'll just move it back up to the top.
Well, there's a new ticket with a new gentleman involved as well. I think you're involved in one of those email threads, right, Tracy?
Let me double check.
I'll see her on the newest one, actually.
I usually am not, because those flow like between our knock and Andrew. Do you know about a new ticket number? If Andrew's still on,
We have it if you want it, and we can fold you into the email thread if you want, Tracy.
sure, that would be fine, and I can follow up with Andrew also and see where we're at on it.
Yeah, because we understand the differences between the knocks, and we've had our discussions, but it's not closed.
Okay. Yeah, if you would forward me that email, I can definitely circle the wagons here and get some answers for you. I apologize if I was left off of that.
And Tracy, Alex put in the chat that he's sending it to you right now.
Great. I'll get with Cindy and Andrew and we'll see where we're at on that.
All right. Anything else?
Kathy, I would have something maybe for the end of the meeting since we have Tracy on the phone. I don't know if now's the right time.
Okay. Just remind me when we get there. I'm going to move along then. And I know I'm just going to say it one more time, and then maybe Jennifer and I can just concentrate on the PSAPs who are not ECATs ready yet. But if they're purchasing new CPEs, to make sure that the solution will interface with ECATS. So that's just been a monthly reminder. And then the next thing, Jennifer, go ahead.
Sorry, I would just also add that that is true also going forward for anybody who is currently on ECATS. If and or when you upgrade your CPE, just to put that on your RFP list.
Good point. Thanks, Jennifer. Next, I have the traffic study follow-up. Last month, and Tracy, I know you weren't here last month, but what we discussed was that the Entrado tool shows some higher traffic times, but Entrado doesn't dictate how many SIP sessions are needed, which is fine, but we asked for follow-up on a report from CenturyLink and or Entrado that will help each PSAP decide how many SIP sessions are needed. And Sarah asked for Jeff Winkleman alluded and or referred to some reports that he was going to look into. And he said he was going to reach out to you, Tracy, to locate those reports. And I just wanted to follow up and see if that was done.
I'm going to say no, because I'm not sure what reports he's talking about. But I thought on this one, isn't this the one where we actually, Kathy, didn't we do a demo with you and Trado did it on a way to get detailed information, and it was is this separate from that?
Yeah, this is separate. Rich did do the demo last month or the month before. I'm sorry, I can't remember.
Yeah, okay.
I can't either, Kathy.
I know it was a while ago, and I was
I know it was in the last 2 months. I just can't remember which month it was, but I'm not sure that reporting dashboard gives the information that each PSAP is looking for in regards to how many SIP sessions are needed.
Okay.
And I think that was a topic of discussion either during the demonstration or after the demonstration. So we're still looking for something that will help us indicate that for each PSAP.
Okay.
So that they can decide how many SIP sessions are needed. If I'm not remembering that correctly, please somebody correct me. And Matt, go ahead.
I'm right there with you, Kathy. I'm trying to remember, was this an existing report that could be added to your dashboard or something?
No. Are you talking about what Rich showed us?
Yeah, related to that, or was Jeff talking about something internal to the company?
I think Jeff was talking about something internal to the company, if I remember correctly. Or, I mean, I can reach out to him and find out, or if it was something that could be added to that dashboard that Rich showed us. Although Rich is on, so he would probably know if there's something that can be added to that dashboard.
Yeah, let me get with Jeff, Kathy, because to my knowledge, we don't have anything that would dictate how many sessions a PSAP should have. We don't do that. So if there is a report, I'll have to see what Jeff was talking about.
So a couple things. The network dashboard that I showed a month or two ago, whenever that was, really shows bandwidth usage, not concurrent call sessions. You could maybe derive it from that to say what was the highest amount of bandwidth I used in a certain period of time. I will look into, I'm not aware of a report that gives concurrent, like the maximum concurrent call sessions for a month or something like that, right? Which is what I think folks are looking for to validate that they're within the realm of where they need to be. Obviously, there are considerations to take effect that, well, you have a month's worth of calls, and let's say this one PSAP had 10 concurrent calls at one point. Well, then you need to take into account, is that all we want, or do we want X times? There's NINA standards saying that you should, busy time should be 10X of what normal call traffic is. But creating a report of the number of concurrent calls at once per month I think can be done. I'm not aware that we have any reports that do it, but we should have all the data of calls and length of calls to be able to look into that. So, sorry, from my perspective, from the standard reports that we provide, that's not a report we provide now, but there is data out there that should be there to create a report. So let me look into it a little bit more as to what it would take to do that. It might be, I've tried to fiddle with it myself before to say, how do I do this? It's a complicated Excel formula because you have a start and stop time of every call, and then you got to look at it from a holistic perspective to see which calls overlapped at what point and what the highest number of that would be. So I've sat in front of my computer for hours trying to come up with a formula, and I couldn't do it. But I'm sure there's a way to do it through Access or through some sort of reporting platform that can take all that intelligence and plop out a number. I'm just not aware of it.
Well, Rich, an easy button for us in the UI for that metric would certainly be informative for our own local decisions on session counts.
Sure. So yeah, I'm curious. I've had that question come up on and off over the last bunch of years. So I'm actually was writing an email as you're doing that, trying to pull in some people with bigger brains than me to figure out how to, at least, again, the data's out there. So if I could figure out a way to do it or an Excel formula to say, here, at least you could do this. And then if you want us to create a formal report, we could look into that. So let me start with those baby steps and I'll report back.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, I believe that type of report, you might look into it and see, Rich, in ECATS, but the circuit utilization report, I think, is generating that type of information. So that might be a good place to start. It might already exist in that form. I've been using ECATS a lot, so I've been exploring a lot of the reports as I'm targeting other things. So.
And that's the other thing is when I talk to the ECAT side of the house about the other issue, I'll ask if they have an existing report that does that. On the ESInet side, the A911 side, I know we don't. I'd like to. So I'll ask that question to ECATs as well.
All right. Thanks, Rich. Anything else on that? Okay. We'll move along. The next thing I have, I just want to make sure that we're moving forward with this. Alex asked for a list of TNs that when dialed will connect to Wesco. Also that this list should include admin lines and that all dialable numbers are needed. Alex, have you received that? Are you working with Tracy and Jeff on that still?
Yeah, that was the one that I just mentioned to Tracy, and I had forwarded that email as well as the other one. So.
Okay, thanks. Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
And I see that email, so I'll follow up on it.
All right. The next thing I just wanted to mention, we had an issue with the Glendale PD non-emergency lines. And so, as everybody will probably nod their head in understanding, this happened on the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. And I believe it was Saturday, I received a text from Lieutenant V. Hill asking if he could give me a call. And so after speaking with him, we determined that their main non-emergency number, was no longer working. The non-emergencies don't belong to the authority. Those belong to the agency. So I connected Don with Andrew. I included Jeff, and at one point I included Tracy in on an email. The one thing I'm going to say, I know Andrew, you're on the phone. Andrew stepped up again during a holiday weekend and worked to get this corrected. So Andrew, I'm going to explain what I understand happened. But if I say anything incorrectly, just let me know. So apparently there was an order to change one of the lines. And when CenturyLink reached out to Justin, who is the IT person for Glendale, to make that change, to come physically to the location to work on that part of the change, Justin canceled the order because they weren't ready to do that. So the cancellation was done on that end, but apparently there's another part on the back end that is done with CenturyLink, and that part was not canceled. So when the order was put into the system had a date and time where it was going to automatically change that line over. And that's what happened on, I think it was the 30th. Yeah, it was the 30th, on Saturday the 30th. So all of a sudden, their primary non-emergency line was no longer functioning. So Andrew, again, I've heard nothing but good things about how you stepped up and how you helped, and you got programmers or technicians or whatever you needed to work on that holiday weekend so that that could be corrected. And I believe it was corrected within, I'd say, about a 7-hour time period. But as good as that was, getting that done in that time period and working with Andrew, once again, the frustration happened when Glendale called the CenturyLink, I believe, the NOC, and told them what was going on. And the NOC said, nobody's available till Monday. So I just wanted to bring this information to everybody's attention so that if you're ever doing something like this with CenturyLink and you cancel an order, it just might be a good idea to follow up and make sure that the cancellation is going all the way through their system. I mean, and I don't know if that's just bringing it to the NOC's attention, because once we cancel it, we really don't have any way to follow up and make sure that everything is being done on CenturyLink's side. And I know that's where a lot of frustration, irritation has come in with the CenturyLink side on not enough follow-up to make sure that things are done. So, Andrew, if I said anything incorrectly, please go ahead and fix that or correct it.
Yeah, big picture, that was correct. But the one thing I would say that is more accurate is Glendale did not cancel that order. They didn't want it installed on the due date because he wasn't sure that he wanted it. So it got pushed out from, I don't forget the exact date, but the beginning of November to the end of November. So it was never canceled. It was pushed out to another date to say, hey, do you want it or not? And I think it was pushed out to, I'm looking at my calendar, to the 29th. So a dispatch did not happen on the 29th. However, the order was still there with the 29th due date. And this was to change their main admin line from a DID on a PRI to a POTS line.
Right.
And because, and I will say, there should have been follow-up from the CenturyLink Lumen side with that order on the 29th, and nothing happened. So it didn't get pushed out again. So the programming on it changed, over the next 24 hours, which is pretty standard. It's an automated thing that, this change is supposed to happen, and the programming has changed. So essentially the DID was taken out of the switch. And when they called in, they were told, we can't do anything about this till Monday because it was regarding an order. So once we kind of fleshed all that out on Saturday, It just looked like, I was 99% sure that it was just the programming that was removed. So I worked to get that group involved. And I will say, I didn't have super high hopes that we were going to get it Saturday night, but they were very responsive. And above that, because there really is not that I've ever seen, an after hours process for that group. So two things: they responded, they got a person on it, got it corrected. The line came back up as a DID and it was working fine. Then the following week, we canceled the order. But the manager of that group said they are working on an after hours process for military, state, local, federal governments, emergency services. And so that's great. Because I didn't even know that was something that was in the works. So I was just kind of shotgunning to get everybody involved that I could to get the programming done. So, it was a little bit different because there was never a canceled order until after it was restored. But yeah, typically, with like a POTS order, it's not going to, if you're just moving a line or installing a line, there's no real risk of anything bad. But because it was switching from one technology to another and it passed the due date, that's where we got in trouble. So I don't know if that helps or if there's any questions. I'm happy to answer, but that was a little bit more info there.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that more thoroughly. And then I guess my next question would be, once that process is put in place, is there a way that we can be notified of that so that we know?
I can tell you, yes, but it's all an internal process. So
right.
So it basically gives the account team and specifically service managers a way to engage that programming team 24/7 for emergency services. And yes, I will let you know when I get confirmation of that.
Okay, that would be great, because my fear is that we'll call the knock, and even though they may have been given that particular information, we're going to get somebody who doesn't know. And so I think it would be best for us to have that information and say, hey, as of this date, this was put into place. So if you don't know about it, just speaking to the knock personnel, put me on the phone with somebody else who might, or something like that. So we have an avenue to follow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Any questions on that from anybody? Doesn't sound like it. All right, thank you. The next thing I have, I'm going to reiterate this again, is this group, chair and vice chair, will change next month. So as I indicated last month, if you are interested in being the chair of this group and or the vice chair, please either you can self-nominate or you can have somebody nominate you, and then we will be discussing that in January. I think for consistency, if somebody else wants the chair, I'm happy to take the vice chair, because I've been the chair. This will be the end of my second year, and like I said, I'm happy to take the vice chair just for historical information, so that the person coming in isn't starting from square -1 and trying to catch up on things. But again, I want to say to everybody, it's something else on your plate, but we're working on making 911 better in Colorado. And the amount of information that I have learned and other things that I have learned in my last 2 years has been enormous. And so I would recommend somebody else stepping into the chair role. It's amazing how much you'll learn just being the chair of this group. So I'm not going to beat the dead horse, but please consider that for January. Any questions from anybody on that? Okay. All right, next is public comment. So any non-voting members are welcome to provide comments during this time. Tracy.
Hi, this is the other Tracy. I just wanted to follow up on the comment made at the last task force meeting by, I think it was Greg Brooks, who talked about services that don't necessarily need to be through the ESInet tariff, and where the appropriate forum for those types of conversations should be to make sure that the conversations are being had and the appropriate people are involved. Is this on an agenda item for a future ESInet user group? Or where, Kathy, do you anticipate that discussion taking place?
You're going to have to refresh my memory on that. Jennifer, go ahead.
I could be wrong, but I think that comment was actually made at the task force meeting, and I believe that is an agenda item on the task force meeting agenda for January.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. We had the initial discussion at a task force meeting, that's correct. And then the discussion is at the appropriate forum. And so what you're saying is it will continue at the task force level?
Yeah, I have it on the agenda for January's task force meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Which is obviously subject to the chair's approval. But I did send the agenda over to Tina and she's got it now. So yeah, I don't want to lose track of that conversation either, Tracy, and I appreciate you bringing it up.
All right, thanks, Jennifer. Tim, go ahead.
Good morning. I don't know if any of you had a chance to listen to the open meeting, the Colorado Public Utilities Commission open meeting this morning. We, as you know, and I've mentioned in some other forums, that we filed to move up the effective date of the tariff for the last mile diversity portion of the EtherNet upgrade project as part of the network improvement plan. And we moved that date up, as I've explained, just to help facilitate the implementation of the network improvement plan. But as we had stated, the effective date of the actual charge going into effect itself is going to be would be still March 1st. The commission has asked us to push the effective date of the pages themselves, not changing the date of the rate going into effect, but the page itself to December 31st. And we're going to file those pages here very soon. We have until Friday. We're hoping to do that sooner. And then we'll also be providing all PSAPs and authorities with a notice as required by the commission this morning as well. So you'll all be getting some additional information on that. I do have one change that we're going to make in there. And Daryl, I know you're on, at least I think you were still on. I don't think this saying this is going to cause any issues, but I want to at least give you the opportunity to maybe tune out for a moment.
It's not an adjudicated proceeding at this point, so go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So we, as I said, we had pushed this date of actually being charged to March 1st to coincide with the network improvement plan charge of $310 that would go into effect on March 1st. However, we're going to push this $20.25 increase charge out to June 1st. So that charge will not be assessed on March 1st like the network improvement plan charge will be. So we are going to move that out. we've had some discussions with some folks, and we appreciate those discussions. And it does make sense to push that out a little bit further. We will have some work that will begin prior to even March 1st. But it did make sense to push that out a little bit further to allow some of the construction to actually take place and for services to start being turned up at some locations. The rate's still the $24.25 increase rate. It's still a statewide average rate. So it's, and the locations that the service will be turned up at are going to be different prices. So it's still a little cumbersome on the cost recovery side of things to match things up 1-to-1. So we thought, though, it at least made sense to push that out. So the filing that we're going to make here, I'm hoping tomorrow, but certainly by Friday, will reflect that. The charge itself won't actually go into effect until June 1st of 2025. It doesn't impact the network improvement plan charge of March 1st. But I did want to share that change that would be coming, so you'll be seeing that very soon. And if there are any other issues or concerns that folks have, as stated before, I'd love to hear from you and see if there's any issues that you have that we can work out and resolve that for you. Again, the main issue here is we're just trying to tie these two things together, the network improvement plan and this particular charge, so that we can begin implementation and know what we're going to implement for the coming year. That's all I have. So I see someone's got
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Tracy, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Tim, for that update. And I know we've had some dialogue. One of the questions we had is if we could get a list of which, if any, demarcation points aren't going to get the benefit of last mile diversity, so we know if there are any, and I'm emphasizing if. It's a little clear as mud to me, but that's one request. But I appreciate the efforts that CenturyLink is making to inquire and seek input.
Sure.
And that's
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tim.
I can say that the list is still the same list from the network improvement plan proceedings. So, but we can certainly break that out of that massive multicolored spreadsheet that shows all the different constructions and charges that will be going on for the various PSAPs. So I can certainly put that into a more useful list for folks, and I can send that around to folks.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Matt, go ahead.
That's more of a placeholder for my comment that I wanted to make that I talked about earlier. But Alex has actually been able to pull up that ECATS report that you mentioned earlier. Circuit, what was it called, Alex?
Circuit utilization that might be providing the data people are seeking for some of their concurrent session time usage.
And so Kathy, we wanted to offer, if people wanted to see that on screen, he could share his screen now, or he could send an image and you could send that out to the whole list.
Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, we've got 4 minutes left. So Alex, if you want to share your screen real quick, and then you can send it to me, and, we can send it out to the list as well.
Yeah, I've got it up. It shouldn't take but a minute if you want
All right.
to let me share.
Yeah, I think Jennifer has to stop presenting.
Hold on.
While he's working on that, I'll just ask Tracy what I was going to ask about is about a little over 5 weeks ago, Tracy, we traded a couple of emails about the status of the Brightspeed changes involving Lumen for addressing notifications related to, say, MSAG and other database maintenance, and you were going to get back to me, and haven't heard anything. Do you have any updates on that?
Let me check my emails on here and see with Brightspeed, because I don't think we have a new. You were looking. Part of it was for a new email distribution list, right, for them?
Yeah, we had been told by somebody at CenturyLink, I think it was, that
the situation with Brightspeed was changing or potentially going to be changing, and there might be a new email address for notifications, etc.
Looking through, I see your email and looking to see if I got an answer on it, because that normally would not come to us. Let me double check here. Right.
Sure. And you know, we can catch up on it later, but
Yeah.
this is the sort of information that all of our addressing and 911 coordinator folks in this group might potentially be interested in.
Okay. Let me see what I can dig up in my email chain, because I don't think I received any updates back from Brightspeed. That doesn't mean somebody at Lumen doesn't have the information, but let me double check, and I see I have Entrado on this chain as well. So let me follow up with you on that one.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, you guys. Alex,
Yeah.
I can see yours. I can see it. Is there any way you can make it a little bigger? There we go. Perfect.
Yeah. So just as like a quick context of what this is, in the circuit utilization report, this I just pulled for like the year. So this happens to be the month of May, and Wesco has 7 concurrent sessions and 6 were utilized, and it shows the percentage. I don't know exactly like what this is communicating, but it seems to communicate for X percent of total active 24/7 hours. That's how much time 6 circuits were busy at the same time versus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you can get this for your 911s, your admins, as well as outbounds. The next month in June, you can see we actually did have all 7 concurrent sessions used at the same time at one point. So I don't know if this will help people identify how much they're using all those concurrent sessions at the same time. And if you want to find it in your ECATs, just on the main page in your standard reports, circuit utilization is there, and you can do a year to date, which for us is about May when we started getting data. So, but it should be there from when you first implemented, but you can do it by month and has all the other editable options like the other ECATs reports, and you can pick web, PDF, Excel, etc. So we found that one to be pretty useful. The ESAP is looking into that one for us for other reasons. So yeah, that is it.
All right. Thanks, Alex. And if you don't mind just sending that to me, and then I can shoot it out to the group.
Yeah, no problem. We'll do.
All right. And I know Jennifer, I think, had to leave. Daryl, are you able to bring the agenda back up? I think I skipped something.
I still have the agenda. The only thing you skipped was the strategic plan update.
Strategic plan, that's exactly what I was thinking. So we have made great progress with the strategic plan. Jennifer and I met last week to go over the executive summary and just reword, reformat a little bit. And if Jennifer hasn't already, she's going to be sending that out to the committee for review. Our next meeting is the 19th. And there's some more language suggestions in the plan itself that were put in by Tracy Oldemeyer that we will be reviewing. And then we will be going over the executive summary with the hopes that we will have something to present to the group in January. So that is it for the strategic plan. Does anybody have any questions on that?
I was reviewing that stuff this morning. I don't know if I'm looking at the latest version from Jennifer as of last week. I'm liking what I'm seeing. I do have some comments for the meeting when that comes up.
Okay, sounds good, Matt. Thanks.
I might want to think about redlining some things, maybe in a separate copy for you guys.
No, not you, Matt.
Well, right now I'm just taking in notes, so.
Yeah, okay. All right, already went through number 8, number 9. Before we adjourn, it is December 11th. And I want to wish everybody a very, very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I know I will be talking to some of you before next year, but for those that I won't be speaking with, it's been great working with you this year. I appreciate everybody being on this group, and I do wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And with that said, I'm going to call the meeting adjourned at 10:02. Only went 2 minutes over. Thanks, everybody.